Hey goddesses, welcome to Diary of a Sleeping Goddess. I wanted to talk about how it's the discomfort of the abuse that's in our systems. Let's just go straight into it, right? Okay. So I was simply watching something on Instagram of of an actress, and she was talking about Harvey Weinstein and literally pointing out to the people that there would have been people in that audience would have known about it and would have allowed it to happen, and calling them out. Basically, it was like the real powerful truth of standing in her in her power and sharing that, and actually watching it I found really intriguing. I found myself uncomfortable for a few moments. It's like, ooh, you're saying too much. You're bringing too much awareness. You're bringing too much show. There was a real visceral in my body that went, oh, you're just a bit too much. And you're making it uncomfortable. You're making the whole environment uncomfortable. And it intrigued me that I had that response. So, from me and my background, I've had to go through what realizing trauma as a child and coming out with that 40 odd years later because my body held the trauma. There was things that would trigger things and activate. I didn't viscerally consciously remember, but my body did. And it came up. And from really talking about that to sharing that to the family, pretty much all of them just could not cope with it and preferred to say that they didn't believe me, and because they wanted to carry on as normal. And what's really interesting is that I have experienced that pain of sharing the vulnerability of that you've been abused, and the deep, intricate information that you give to try and prove it. And it still gets kind of stonewalled. And so I found it really interesting that I had that response, that visceral response, listening to that video of this woman. And it just goes to show how deep the discomfort goes, that people would prefer you wouldn't talk about it. You don't bring it up to the surface. You don't create a show of things. You don't make a spectacle of yourself. And how abuse has continued to happen generation after generation, thousands of years, because people couldn't handle the truth. And so it was the victims that have to keep quiet, that have to hold the shame of it. It's not even theirs to carry, but they, because of the society and the people around them that decide to say, you keep that to yourself, how much shame that you're carrying and how heavy that is. And I just wanted to just bring that to awareness that we will viscerally hold that in our bodies as women, especially, and how we will have that conditioning to just accept it. Like, that's just what happens. This is what has happened for us for thousands of years, that it's just become acceptable. And that when you challenge the status quo, when you stand the truth and say, this is not okay, how a society will try and push you back because you're too uncomfortable. The truth is too uncomfortable for people to accept. And so with everything going on with the Epstein files and how it's been delivered, it's been held back deliberately, and then it's complete torrage of information just being released, and the depth of it all, and the cruelty of it all, somehow rendering people in shock. It's like, well, that can't be true. That's just too awful. People's nervous systems will not be able to cope with it, and then they go into shock. And that shock can either wake you up and make you realize and wake up and see things very clearly. It wakes you out of your amnesia, your subconscious patterning, and you start to see the truth. It can also create that shock where you just go into freeze and fawn and friend. You like literally will shrink into self. And so it's been deliberately done to make people either think it's not real because it's too much. The patterning of our society is just don't question it, don't rock the boat, because what happens if we do? And it just puts us into even more of a freeze mode, which again heightens that victim energy. If you think about it, it's this victim energy. When you're in that freeze, fear, you're stuck. And all of this is coming up to shock us out of it. And unless we're creating time for ourselves to be held in space and to hold a calmness for our bodies, we will just keep spinning, or we will freeze and we'll burn out and overwhelm and just go into complete shock, basically. So I just wanted to share that really, because as much as this podcast is going to be about really shouting out about our power and getting us to wake up and step into it, it's also to realize how much shadows that as well, and the shadows and the depth and the levels that we have to move through, and realize that our womb, our body, our blood, our bones hold this fear. It's like it's a shadow that's working alongside our DNA and blocking it from truly functioning to its full capacity and blueprint. And so we have to do this work. And like I said, as I was watching it, I was thinking I had that visceral discomfort of you're speaking too much. Like I could feel the discomfort of the people in the room and us empaths. And I've realized for me, I've enabled it to become a gift because I've become aware of it. But the part of me where the empath reads the room, that work out whether it's safe, what's the moods like. I mean, for me, I've realized I've always are looking to see what the male emotional state is, because if I wasn't positive, I wasn't safe. And so I could see lots of patterning that goes from that to try and accommodate, to appease, to perform, to calm and placate, to bring the harmony in, and the people pleaser. And it's just literally has showed me so many of those patterns and behaviors, and we won't even realize that we're doing it. And like I say, we're going through a huge transformation. We're going through a second heart awakening right now. So we had the first one, which I see was COVID. We're seeing the second one now as everything they've literally cranked up the fear narrative and survival again with food and fuel and etc. And we are having to keep moving out of our survival patterns, which is really interesting because when they're being activated to move through, how do we realize we're just being activated to move through, or is it actually the present? Is this an actual danger? And we can never really work that out unless we have conscious moments of stillness and space and breath and build that awareness. Otherwise, their neuroplasticity will just keep looping in those survival patterns, and the present moment will be seen as that present danger. But it isn't, it's just old stuff being brought up to the surface. So our minds are very intelligent, but our bodies are even more, and especially the womb. And our womb, they haven't worked it out yet, but it will have neurons there, like the heart does, 40 odd thousand neurons. Our womb will have that too. The fact that it brings in life, that she brings in life without any form of this being involved consciously. And she has direct connection up through the vagus nerve, up into our minds. 80% travels from womb up to the mind. Okay, not the other way around. This is the thing. And so there's a huge amount of wisdom that we need to tune back into. And I did that today because I've been going through a sludge of melancholy, just like, oh, just that whole torrid misery. And I'm thinking, I need to get out of this. This isn't my truth. I'm love, I'm joy, I'm peace. And what did I do? I did my meditation. I did a meditation. I did my Daughters of the Golden Rose meditation, the first one, which is about really tuning into the pureness that is your heart, the sovereignty of your heart, through the crystallization and the torus field of that, and going deeper and deeper in connection into the womb and then into earth. And that is where our truth sits. That's where our connection, what I call is the creatix, the whole Mother Earth that birthed us. That's our truth. And there isn't fear there. It's the matrix and all the other shit that's attached that we think is real life. And we keep going and keep generating and keep creating because we believe it is real life. And so when I did this and really tuned in and came out of that meditation, I felt so peaceful. And so this was like resetting me back to my truth, which the brain can't do it on its own. You have to connect into the body. And this is why Daughters of the Golden Rose, and I'll talk about this a lot because it's been quite revolutionary for me and for others, that people have done it as well, where you start to tune in somatically and tuning into the body where your true wisdom lies. And the womb has that resonance with the earth, the birthing, the creation. And so it's like we're plugging in just the most powerful thing on our planet, in our planet, in our earth, when we plug into our wombs, into this intelligence right there, beyond the fears, like tuning in, like I say, through the heart and deep into the womb, where Sophia is this white light, where this pureness that is the creatix, that creates the beautiful DNA, that everything that we see out in the world, we are all part of that. I mean, our DNA, I'm going off on a tangent here, but we are like only a couple of percent of different from a dragonfly. You know, we hold the DNA of pretty much everything. I mean, which was actually another interesting thing. You can see this as a diary ramble. Chuckle to myself as you do. But it's the other thing that came through that meditation was actually, now I sound like what I could visualize was coming off me was like a centipede, like a millipede off my spine and out in the back of my neck into the cerebellum, which is the autonomic nervous system, the reptilian brain. And it felt like that was being removed. Because this is the thing, right? So light births us. Light's love, pureness. So we are love, we are light, we are joy, we are peace. Where does that darkness come in? Where does that belief of separation come in? Where do those thoughts come in? And then you can choose to have the emotional response to it. You know, what is feeding our thoughts of separation? And it was just intriguing because I have seen this in the body as well. I have seen in people's bodies like a symbiote, like a darkness through the central nervous system. And it gives us the thoughts that are negative, and then we believe the thoughts are ourselves. So we have an emotional response to that. And that emotional response then feeds this parasite. And it's the belief that it is us that keeps it there. Which, as I'm saying right now, is how that entity attached to me, the light codes, the different talking, thinking it was a gift, and actually turns out to be an entity. And which has taught me so much, but what it did, it attached to the fear of not being enough. And so when you had this, all of a sudden, this gift, like, oh, there's something a bit special about me. Listen to me. This is who I am. And that's an interesting one to say, because that is ego, right? And to admit that there's that ego at play can feel a bit uncomfortable. But there we are. We're here, truth speaking, showing our shadows, and truth is the light. Truth is what kills and breaks down these old illusions. And so, yeah, it attached to that. And so, again, it attaches to the nuances of fear. And only when we break patterns and stillness, as I keep saying, that we can go, that is fear. That isn't love. That isn't joy. That isn't peace. And like I say, 98% of our actions comes from our subconscious. So we have to take as many moments as we can, but when we're in a busy world, trying to chase some money, trying to keep a roof over our head, because the assholes we're the donkeys and they're holding the carrots, and we're chasing that carrot. When are we ever really going to be conscious? We're just too busy just trying to survive, okay? And we're just going to be in survival patterns until we take these moments to stop. And so, yeah, that's really what I just wanted to share with you. And like I say, diary, it's just going to be in my bathrobe basically, and just try and be as honest and share like how as I grow basically, and may well resonate with you as well, especially that whole discomfort of truth and our conditioning to keep abuse in our systems. Like I say, I felt that viscerally, the discomfort of that truth, wanting her to shut up. It's just so funny. It's just like, oh, that's interesting. So yeah, that will be in our systems, and it runs through our generations, through our DNA. And so if that does come up for you, if that is feeling uncomfortable, you may well have realized that knowing that you've been through trauma, you've been through abuse, sexual abuse, and this may well be, or everything that's going on in the world will be activating you. And so I would just really say, offer yourself a shitload of compassion and give yourself a nervous system to ground, to get out into nature, to do meditation, to do breath work, to have a cuddle from the most beautiful person that you know, and just let them hold you and let your heart just sink. And Daughters of Golden Rose, again, that's been incredible in terms of helping shift trauma from the womb and bringing in inner safety in the nervous system. It's subtle, but it's so significant. It's like it goes right to the depth of our neural system, because then when we're moving and enabling ourselves to shift from freeze to actual rest, and know that we're coming and allowing our adrenals and our kidneys to be able to kind of calm and reduce the cortisol and start making choices that are in alignment to our joy, not just to survive, is very significant. And I'm going through that right now. Just that whole patterning of survival and connections and attachments to people, to things, to to think that that's security, but it's like, when do you sell parts of yourself for that? When do you, are you really living in truth when you're holding that? So are you denying parts of self? And so I'm really at the moment of time, as I'm going through this journey, just trying to be present with things, because your brain can go over the top and think, oh God, what's this going to be in a month's time? And it's like, actually, you can't go that far in your head. You have to be in the present moment and learn to find peace, learn to find an inner calm, learn that trust, that point of surrendering, because we just never know what the next day is going to be. So to try and control on something because all of a sudden it feels unknown, we still never know what we think the next day is. So we have to really just allow ourselves to slowly let go of the fear of the unknown. I mean, how can you fear something that isn't even existing, right? But that's what we are. We're little creatures of control. So yeah, I hope this has helped. But like I say, if it's activating anything for you, please go gentle on yourself, seek the right support. Like I say, I have the resources on here, on the Infinity Health Hub, but equally if there's someone local to you too. So, but yeah, signing out on the Daughters of Golden Rose? No, Sleeping Goddess, part 3. All right, take care.